So just a bit of a trigger warning. I will be discussing rape and sexual violence and rape aftermath. While they are not descriptive, I will be using the term and the experience that Emma Sulkowicz had with the Title IX office within my argument. I also want to point out that Emma Sulkowicz, who performed the Carry That Weight piece back in 2014, now goes by she, they pronouns. So I would be kind of like using them intermittently, just to quote some of the stuff that they posted to newspaper articles, and then using they pronouns outside of my argument. So this paper and topic, admittedly, is something that I had been formulating during my space, place, and environmental justice class last semester. As we discussed Catherine McKittrick's Demonic Grounds, Black Women and the Cartographies of Struggle. I'm going to put my little timer on myself. So much of my argument and description of the importance of the mattress piece within Sulkowicz's senior thesis rests heavily on McKittrick's theoretical concept of respatialization. I will be using the university as my case study and Sulkowicz's mattress piece as the potential sites of respatialization that McKittrick argues. So I'm going to be going to McKittrick's theories of respatialization within kind of the next slide. So I kind of don't want to rehash the idea that the university continues to be a site where violence against women and rape culture perpetuate itself, as the same issues are prevalent almost 10 years ago as they are today. Like I said, Sulkowicz's piece was in 2014 into the spring 2015 semester where I was an undergrad on campus. So I'm particularly interested in how the university can morph itself into a space where struggles and resistance is realized. And as we can see, it is a space where struggle is always happening against the backdrop of such violence, such as anti-war movements, divestment campaigns. I do know that UC Davis just recently divested from Israel, very recently. And anti-rape protests are kind of all part of the university as this kind of site of violence and site of struggle. Stupid thing's not working right now. Sorry about that. So the work is important to me in understanding how kind of geographic space, in this case the geographic location of the university, creates the conditions where sexual violence is deemed expected, if not acceptable. Her work is vital because it opens a contextually important question of women's bodies as sites of violence and exploitation. This is exemplified in Chapter 2 on women's experiences of sexual violence. Secondly, it emphasizes an understanding of space as not simply where inequality can come into place, but how inequality, in McKittrick's examples, gender inequality and white supremacy, has been consciously created through spatialization. Isolation on the plantation, the auction block, means that the human is no longer a human, but a product to be labored and a body to be exploited. It is important to highlight how McKittrick takes not only the understanding of geographies as sites of exploitation, but as spaces for respatialization. Respatialization kind of opens up a potential to see resistance in the traditional geographies of sites and spaces of violence, in places that would normally only connote suffering, and create open practices for potential areas of struggle. As in the case with her example of the auction block, a site of kind of dehumanizing violence where black people, and in particular black women, were measured, sold for their potential as commodities, and the fear of rape that actually does create the potential for respatialization. It is a site where contestation can be explored, where being considered as unruly, sassy, or suicidal means that the point of sale can be contested and separation from family and loved ones might be stalled. Tactics which were utilized by Delicia Patterson. So McKittrick kind of illustrates that the auction serves two dual purposes, one of extreme dehumanization and commodification, and another where such black geographies and cartographies create an understanding of the space of the block for spaces of resistance. So I'm going to quote McKittrick. She is on page 85 if you do get to read some of her work. Though the auction block is indicative of the possibility of respatialization is important. Still, a site of violence and subjugation, the auction block is also a location of humanness, a place where race is made known in multiple ways. Creative texts that return to and humanize geographies of slavery illustrate how we are implicated in the product of space, particularly in the production of violent, transparent spaces through reading, through knowing, and through not knowing. So knowledge and knowing become possibilities of contention and fighting against the possibility of, fighting against the structures of violence within the geographies of white supremacy and kind of gender-based violence, right? Patriarchy and white supremacy as those intersections. So to quote McKittrick again on 84, while it is clear that the auction block exudes white supremacy and limits her spatial opportunities, for example, her sassiness is consequently measured by her father's owner as inappropriate, and it prevents their reunification, it also is evident that the auction block is not an impenetrable, transparent geography. The auction block is, instead, a site through which the conditions of captivity and sale can be contested precisely because it is socially produced. Throughout her work, McKittrick opens opportunities where, like places of abject violence, oppression and marginalization can be reclaimed or respatialized, in her terminology, in forms of struggles against such regimes. So she's kind of interrogating space where cartographies of struggle can be realized and kind of inviting the reader to respatialize such geographies. So Emma Sokowicz's art piece, which I kind of leaned heavily on that theory, and the historical uprising, I argue, is kind of an example of McKittrick's conceptions of respatialization and adds to these cartographies of resistance and struggle within the university. So their mattress piece, or most notably the Carry That Weight piece, uses this geographic possibility. Sokowicz invites their viewers to re-examine the experience of their rape, their victimization as potentials for solidarity and support. So, in 2014, that was her thesis. So in Emma Sokowicz's sophomore year at Columbia University, they were anally raped by Paul Nungauser, a classmate who was acquainted with Sokowicz. Sokowicz's mattress piece was a performative response to the university finding Nungauser not guilty, even though he had 3 other accusers against him. They did not wait until, they did not actually report to Title IX until they found out that 2 other survivors had come forward. In a Times article posted the spring semester before their senior year, Sokowicz detailed the rape and the aftermath, having been one of the 23 students from Columbia and Barnard University that had filed a Title IX complaint to the Office of Civil Rights, alleging the university mishandled sexual assault cases. To quote Sokowicz, "Every day, I am afraid to leave my room. Even seeing people who look remotely like my rapist scares me. As long as he is on campus with me, he can continue to harass me." So, in their senior year, angered by the university's dismissal of multiple complaints, as well as the kind of unending embarrassment that Sokowicz faced while they were disclosing their sexual assault to the kind of Title IX panel, they created the Carry That Weight as a senior thesis. So Carry That Weight became, at the time, a protest performance that, when I was in my undergrad, kind of galvanized a lot of kind of protests in support and solidarity of Sokowicz. So, let me see if I have it here. Perfect. The premise of the project was thus. Sokowicz was to carry a dormitory standard size 50-pound mattress, one that was identical to the mattress that they were raped on, until either the university expelled Nungauser or they graduated. Sokowicz could not ask for help, and I think this is going to be the really important piece. They could not ask for help, but could receive it from students if freely given. So the twofold project, kind of, I argue, raises this conception of respatialization. While the mattress, the symbol of the violence enacted on Sokowicz's body, is on full display, it allows those seeing, or, as you can also see, participating in the performance, the ability for shared solidarities or acts of care. Not only was there a refusal for Sokowicz to move back into the shadows as a quote-unquote victim, and Sokowicz's further pieces before they, I believe, stopped making art, was a piece about this weird, like, having to be the perfect victim to be kind of taken seriously. Excuse me. Not only was there a refusal for Sokowicz to move back into the shadows as a victim that must contend with being in the same space as their rapist, but the mattress and the space of the university itself became ground whereby cartographies of struggle are realized and kind of resistance is imagined. The performance piece, the mattress, her disclosure, because as you can kind of see in their quote, the actor carrying the mattress from inside my room and into the light has mirrored the way my life has changed. I brought my personal story out into the light, is a way that created kind of, I argue, affective bonds and community between the student body. They can feel the fear and the anxiety of being on campus, the weight of the burden bearing down on their shoulders, indicative of Sokowicz's fear of Nungauser remaining on campus until their graduation days and potentially running into him, being stalked by him or accosted by him or facing retribution. Since the institution itself became that space of violence, the student body's collective response, and I'm going to cycle through some of those photos, performed throughout the university grounds and outside of the university grounds, because there was a National Carry That Weight Day of Action where multiple universities around the country actually helped carry Sokowicz's weight and burden, can be kind of like realized. That resistance can be realized. So I argue that the response by the student body, which included scheduling times to walk with Sokowicz to class, protesting the university's approach to sexual assault reporting vis-a-vis the organizing, from No Red Tape Columbia, and the collective carry of the mattress over the graduation stage, helps to reconfigure the university as the geographic space of violence and oppression into one of struggle, resistance, and solidarity. I wanted to end it with that one. That was the National Carry That Weight Day of Action.